Hello everyone and welcome to a very special episode of This Nintendo Life. It's E3 baby, we're here. The date is June 15th, 2021. We have seen Nintendo's E3 press conference / direct / video presentation, whatever you want to call it. And we're here to talk about it and all the things that Nintendo gave us in this lovely little video package. I'm joined, as always, by Bally. Bally, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling very good. That was way better than I was hoping for. Like, this might be the most positive I've been about Nintendo since 2017, maybe? I don't know,
Yeah.
Like, it's been a couple of years where there's been some good stuff in there, but right now it just feels chock-a-block with some really, really big stuff, but also really personal to me, personal to you, like kind of stuff we're keen about on the show that I think is I've been waiting for a long time. That is just really cool to see.
No shit, man. We've both been waiting for ages.
Yeah, so in that sense, even if I wasn't into the sort of personal stuff, there's some great stuff there. But I think it's really the cherry on top of all of the personal stuff for us that I just think elevates this direct like above most that I can remember. It's certainly in the top echelon when it comes to Nintendo Directs for me.
Yeah, I was just buzzing after this presentation, which I think, people over the internet, they're like, oh, it was quite good, and they had some things, and a lot of people talking about, oh, they have a lot of B-tier things, and I'm thinking, like, you know what, a lot of these B-tier things are some of my favorite Nintendo things, right? So, like, for me, and for us, this is the most targeted towards our personal taste that a presentation from Nintendo has maybe ever been. I'm not sure if you can get closer than you do with what this does. Maybe if you swap out WarioWare for Wario Land, then we're talking all-timer status. Right. But aside from that, this is like a personally very vindicating direct. And if it wasn't for you, that's great. But for me and Bally, I think we're pretty fucking excited about some of the things that were shown here in particular. So, yeah, overall, Bally, you enjoyed it, I'm sure, had a good time. What would you give it a rating or any kind of like feeling compared to recent presentations that we obviously had the direct earlier this year that showed off stuff like Splatoon 3 and those types of things, which I thought was quite good, and I think a lot of people were quite negative on that one, and I was relatively positive on it, but for me this was a lot better. For
that time of year it was strong, and I think for E3 this was also strong. Like, it's rare that you come away thinking, wow, Nintendo have a bunch of games coming out this year where I care about at least 4 to 5 of them. I can't remember the last time I felt that way, like that.
Yes.
And regardless of how you feel about those games, they are putting out a lot of quality games that will do very well when we're talking about sales, critical acclaim, these kinds of things that are fairly important, like I think there's a lot of good games coming out, which is awesome.
Yeah, and this presentation didn't show the Pokemon remakes, Diamond and Pearl, that are coming. Right. Didn't show a few things. I think they touched on Mario Golf and Skyward Sword, which had already been announced. But one of the interesting things I found missing was no real 25th anniversary Zelda stuff aside from that little thing at the end, which I feel like a lot of people were waiting for them to put like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess on Switch.
Yeah, I mean it was quite a. We'll get to it, but it was quite a. It was like 4 things announced at the end that were all related. So I thought, it was a lot. It was just very crammed in at the end.
Yeah, and it was stuff that we kind of knew about, and the tension waiting of like, how many minutes do we have left of this presentation? Are they going to close it in the way that they should do? And thankfully they did, which I'm sure a lot of people will be the most stoked about the thing at the end. But let's get there, Bally. Let's do our climb from the beginning, getting on into it. We start off the presentation with a reveal for the next Smash Brothers character, and it is guy from Tekken, who we don't know the name of, Kazuya. Kazuya is his name, and I'm not a massive Tekken, but neither of us are big fighting game people. I thought the Terry Bogard pick was really cool as a super niche SNK fighter. I thought that was rad that they got him in there. I feel like here's the thing, Bally. To be perfectly honest, I really don't care who they put in Smash Brothers anymore. I've had all my stuff come true. We've got the dream game with like the most amazing characters in it across the industry. It would have been nice to have like a big bombastic like Master Chief ridiculous pick.
Yeah,
but I'm kind of fine with whatever at this point. So for me, like, this is cool. I'm sure he'll be fun to play as. Looks pretty neat. The thing that tipped me off was he was throwing people in the volcano. And at the beginning of it, I was like, is this like a Virtua Fighter guy? And then I was like, oh, wait, he's putting people in a volcano. All I hear about when Jeff Gersman talks about Tekken is that fucking volcano. So I was like, must be from Tekken then. Didn't know his actual name. But yeah, for me, I think Heihachi or King would have been more recognizable Tekken characters personally. As someone who like isn't into the franchise, just sees it from the outside. Like, King is the guy with the giant tiger head, who is, for me, far more like iconic as a Tekken character, whereas Kazuya kind of looks like a generic fighting game guy, a little boring and bland from a visual perspective, but he kind of half turns into a dragon. So I think mechanically they've always done a solid job in creating these characters. I think Sakurai, and again, we got the announcement that there's going to be a presentation talking about him on the 28th, so I imagine he'll be out either that day or a couple of days after the end of this month. So we'll have a new Smash Brothers character to play around with, which is always fun. So yeah.
Yeah, they do like opening with the Smash reveal. It's quite a thing now. So
yes.
Yeah, I'm same as you, like, don't really care about Tekken, but I know this will be a big deal for the sort of fighting game community. I already saw a few tweets of like, wow, Tekken versus Street Fighter, here we go. Like
this is how we finally get there, right, by Nintendo.
Through Smash Brothers and Nintendo is just like bizarre. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like, this guy Kazuya must be one of the furthest from the Nintendo franchise out of everyone we've had so far.
Yeah, I mean, Tekken doesn't really have a history on Nintendo platforms, right? Like, it's been a PlayStation thing for a long, long time.
Solid Snake was far, but I guess he has had a few games on like GameCube and 3DS, right?
There was a Game Boy game as well. Ghost Babel was, and obviously the original Metal Gear was on the NES. So there is some history.
And then I guess Cloud and what's his face, the enemy from Final Fantasy VII. Sephiroth, but obviously those two. But I guess that has come onto the Nintendo Switch eShop in it. Not that that's much of a link. But.
Yeah, and also he appeared in like other Final Fantasy games and stuff like that in the past as like a spin-off kind of character. Right. And Joker, you could say, because Persona Q2 was on 3DS,
that's true,
so that.
True.
So
but he's definitely one of the more out there, which
yes, I agree.
Interesting, totally.
And I think Sakurai is just kind of like wanting to give a bit of props to the big fighting game out there, you know, like Mortal Kombat I think would be a bit too far for him, because that like steers very far away from Nintendo sensibilities as a company for children and everybody, right? Mortal Kombat is a gruesome, bloody series, and Scorpion I think would be a cool addition, like that makes the most sense, but they definitely have to PG rate all that stuff there if he was going to be in the game. So yeah, it's cool, right? Like I do think that they do an excellent job making all these DLC characters, and especially with the fighting game characters, they put in there the specific like quarter circle, half circle moves that are ripped straight from their own games, right? And you know, this guy turns into a dragon like and does a bit of laser beam stuff. I'm sure there's going to be some interesting things going on with how you can play him, and I'm excited to check him out, because I really like playing as Terry Bogard. As someone who's not like into fighting games and stuff like that, he's one of my favorite new DLC characters to play as. I just think he's a really cool addition. So yeah.
It'd be interesting if, say, you played this guy against Ryu and you went on an Omega stage, and a bit like a traditional Tekken or Street Fighter, the whole platforming aspect is less important, and the two of them are fighting, it feels a lot more like, you know, just pure physical combat, like an actual
set it to stamina mode, right, instead of percentage.
Stuff like that, which I'm sure people will do. I'm interested how similar it will feel to like those original experiences, because you're right, they really go for it with like the control styles.
Yes, I'm the most exciting thing for me is going and watching people who like fighting games react to this, like Jeff Gersman and Jason over at Giant Bomb, and Maximilian Dude, who is a big fighting game guy and always reacts to Smash characters, but when it's a fighting game character, he's very into that scene, so that's always fun to watch. So I look forward to doing that. But we move on quickly to the Life is Strange games. Surprisingly, have not been on Switch yet, and are coming out. The remastered collection that was announced recently, as well as True Colors, which is the new Life is Strange game, are both coming to Switch. I was a little surprised when they first showed it off because they did this little animated thing. And I was like, oh wow, they're doing like a spin-off Life is Strange on Switch that is like 2D animated. But no, it was just a really nice way of displaying those games that they are coming to the system. And looking at them, I'm not going to do this Switch Pro speculation, but I don't know, they look like they wouldn't run that well on a regular Switch from the footage I saw that they showed there. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm projecting.
Is that True Colors day and date with the other consoles?
I believe so. Yeah, it seems like it is going to come out at the same time, which is great news.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely into checking that game out. We both played Tell Me Why, and I really enjoyed that game. I definitely want to play more Life is Strange stuff and stuff from those teams. I believe Deck 9 is making this, and they made the spin-off game In the Storm. I can't remember what the Storm, something the Storm was the Life is Strange kind of sub-story that was 3 episodes long that was made by them because the main Life is Strange team are Don't Nod, who made Tell Me Why. So they're working on something else. And I can't remember what it is, but anyway.
Yeah, I want to play Life is Strange. It's definitely one that dropped off Game Pass that I'd like to get to at some point. And hey, if it runs well on Switch, whether that's Switch Pro or not, who knows? But I'd be up for playing that sometime.
Totally. Guardians of the Galaxy, it looks like a cloud edition is coming to Switch.
Right, okay.
I don't know what your thoughts were when I saw that in the Square Enix presentation. Have you caught up on that at all, Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, Bally?
I just kind of saw like the trailer. I've not watched the whole presentation.
It's long. They spent like 25 minutes on it.
But that game really, again, it just feels a bit like Avengers. It's that kind of like MCU cosplay, which just doesn't do it for me. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I think the benefit here is it's not a live service game. It's a single player narrative thing.
That is good.
But the combat looks real slow and uninspired. I don't know. Something about it feels off, and it's coming out soon, and I don't know that it can do much to fix it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe it's good. I don't know. Anyway, it's a cloud version.
Interesting it is coming to Switch when Avengers didn't. That is interesting.
That is true. Yeah, for sure. Worms Rumble. Sure. Astria.
What's happening? What's going on?
I don't know. They needed to fill space, man. Who knows?
True, but I felt like if there's one thing this presentation lacked, it was like a real quality kind of indie or something, And
you're right.
This maybe could have done with one more when, But then this game come out last year and didn't make any waves.
Yeah, I don't know much about Worms Rumble. All I know is that Worms Armageddon is the best Worms game, and that's the one I've played. So. There you go. Astria Ascending is an RPG, 2D style. I've seen a lot of this game floating around the internet. It's a weird choice for them to highlight here, but I guess it's coming out relatively soon, so maybe that's why. September, it seems like. So, it seems neat. I don't know, have much more to say about it than that. 2 Point Campus, which was shown at literally every fucking presentation.
Was Caroline's game of the show.
Oh, wow, there you go.
She's obviously not followed E3 like I have, so she wasn't aware of this game. And I was like, hey, this is like the sequel to 2 Point Hospital or whatever, and you love that game. And she's like, what? Are you kidding? And she was like really impressed.
That's
and
good.
Obviously it might not run that well on Switch, but she doesn't even mind. She just loves the fact that it's handheld.
She has like 200 hours in 2 Point Hospital on Switch, right? Something like that.
She absolutely loved it, so she's keen for this, even if it crashes her Switch multiple times like the first game did. She doesn't even care. She just wants that handheld experience.
Looks good, and I think I'm just sick of seeing it because it's been every fucking presentation. So, Bally, here's where we get into the hype announcements.
My God.
Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. Now, this was slightly leaked beforehand. I was actually tipped off at work. Someone sent me a thing which was like, hey, did you see this? And I was like, oh, really? There's going to be a new Monkey Ball game? And it turns out it wasn't a new Monkey Ball game. It was, in fact, a remastering of the best Monkey Ball games. You'll remember they did Banana Blitz HD recently, and everyone was like, what the fuck are you doing, Sega? Why are you remastering that? You could remaster the good games.
And they listened.
And they did. I guess maybe Banana Blitz HD did all right, because they are bringing this game out fully remastered, those first 3 amazing video games, and all the levels, all in one package. Banana Mania. It's about to go off, man. I'm so excited. I love Super Monkey Ball. The original game I remember playing at a relation's house. I can't remember how I'm related to them, probably third, fourth cousin, something like that. I've got too many family members, Bally. Played it back in the day. Was so stoked that one time I went over to their house and played it that I asked my parents to get me the second one for Christmas. Got it for Christmas. Played the shit out of it. I was not amazing at it, so I never finished the game because that game is fucking hard. It's one of those things that really defines those early Super Monkey Ball games. They're really difficult, and like actually finishing them is a pretty large challenge. Like the later games, we both finished those ones, and the DS one and Banana Blitz. Like those, the difficulty curve on those is much easier. I wonder if they make any changes to that stuff, add in modes to make it a little bit easier for people.
Right.
But yeah, these are some of my favorite childhood memories of playing Super Monkey Ball. So I am stoked that this is coming out again, and it has been way too long. And hopefully, if this does well, they could do a like a Crash 4 situation, make
Totally,
a new Super Monkey Ball game.
Yeah, I thought the glow up at the end with the remaster, where they show the remastered version, looked really nice. Like it just looks really clean and crisp, and it's such a simple concept, but it's just such a good game for those who haven't tried it. And I would love to play this game and work my way through all three of them, because I never owned them. I don't always play them at your house. I owned the GBA DS and the Wii one later, but I never owned those original GameCube ones, which are just so good, and as you say, definitely the best in the series.
Yeah, and they've got the mini games and stuff from back then. So many mini games and all that fun time.
Hey, if those mini games also have like online, like even better.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'll hold
And
my
if
breath.
those mini games require motion, everyone just beware of Bally, because he has a tendency to throw things at windows, and it's a rough situation. Yeah, I'm super excited. Definitely picking that up straight away on Switch. Oh, it's gonna look so good. Gonna be a great time. Mario Party Bally, it's done well. Nintendo, I think, has sold over 10 million copies of Super Mario Party. So it's.
When was the last one? Was it 2019 and 2018?
I think it was 2018. I think that's the year. Yeah.
Feels like a quick turnaround, but yeah, really.
It's
really
been
cool.
a little while. And this is not a brand new Mario Party in the same way, because this is Mario Party Superstars. And this is kind of the realization of what they tried to do on 3DS with Top 100, where that game was just mini games, but this one is they're bringing back old boards as well. So a bunch of N64 boards, old mini games from those original games, and watch a bit of the Treehouse stuff. They show you what game the mini game comes from before you play it, so you can see the history of the series, and it has online day one out of the box. I think we were all surprised when they added that to the old game. I wonder if that was because they had planned to do it for this one and thought we might as well put it in that old one as well.
Turns out you just need to flick this switch and it works. Why don't we put that in the old
game? Just turn on the internet tap and just suddenly you can play it with friends online. Bally, is this going to be the first Mario Party we buy since the GameCube days? Is it going to happen?
I'd like to say yes. I'm scared about that online aspect, in the sense that I'd like to see some reviews, just try it out, and but if it works, I would absolutely love to pick this up and play some online, and hopefully get some of the community in on that, and have a good time. Like, Mario Party is really fun. Those mini games are great, and I'd love to do that.
Yes, it is of course all bullshit, as we know, but it's a fun kind of bullshit in a way. So yeah, I'm definitely much more inclined than I ever have been with a current Mario Party release to actually get it and actually play it. So that's good stuff. Now, Bally, we come to the point in the show where I lost my mind and threw my shirt across the room and danced.
What a big mid-show thing to just drop. Like, mid-show.
Okay. Lots of layers here. Lots of layers. So let's talk about how back in 2004, rumor circulating around the playground, Bally. Here's me, just played Metroid Fusion, big fan of that game. Haven't finished it yet because I'm terrible at the bosses and I can't beat the spider guy. But I hear in a magazine, Metroid Dread. It's going to be the next Metroid game. It's coming on the DS, supposedly. It's going to use the bottom screen as a map. It's going to be like the next version, the 5th Metroid game. And then that rumor kept around for a while, and it kept going, and then it kind of had a bit of a reference in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. If you go into Prime Corruption, there is a reference to Metroid Dread in that game in one of the scans. You can scan a thing that talks about Project Dread, which I think was the developers doing a sly nod to it. And then after that, all of it dries up, and it's like there's no hope anymore. They're not doing a new 2D Metroid game. It's never happening. Until 2017, where they bring Metroid back with Mercury Steam, with Samus Returns. I'm like, all right, okay, cool. That game ends with a tease to Fusion. And I'm like, all right, if I get a remake of one of my favorite games ever, Fusion, I'll be fine with that. It'd be great if they made a new one, but whatever. I'm sure they'll just do, a Fusion remake. And then they fucking show this shit that looks beautiful, that has a new suit that is so sick, and the fluidity, the abilities that Samus has now, and then they fucking middle of it just drop the Metroid logo and it says Dread. I cannot tell you how mind-blowing this entire thing was for me. Like, from the beginning where they say Metroid 5, as I mentioned in our prediction episode. No, I did say V. I did say Metroid V for Visions, which didn't quite come true. But Metroid 5, man, as someone who has played Fusion a billion times, it is seared into my brain when you boot that game up. The start screen, the first thing it says is Metroid 4. And in the same black background with white writing, it says Metroid 5, as if like calling out to that direct thing at the start of Fusion. So yeah, let's talk about it, Bally. You've watched a bunch of the Treehouse stuff. I was kind of like doing a bit of editing stuff on my stream and getting things up while I was watching it, so I'm kind of doing two things at once, but it's been a long road to get here. A brand new 2D Metroid after 19 fucking years.
Well, it looks amazing. And back to our conversation that we had like in the last few shows, like this is probably the first handheld focused original Nintendo IP. I mean, minus some smaller IPs, but you know how we were trying to pinpoint if there was like...
Yeah, and we did get that email which talked about a bunch of others as well. Right. I think honestly, like, looking at this show, WarioWare, this Advance Wars, like this is a handheld focused direct, which speaks to our sensibility, right? Like that's the thing.
I think Dread looks like it's got that real AAA polish to the 2D formula. And what I mean by that is stuff like when Samus goes through doors, the camera will just sometimes pan and it'll just go seamlessly into like a cutscene where the camera pans to make it look almost like Other M or something. Where
I was getting a little worried, I will tell you, because it went for a second. They started out with a kind of cutscene moment before they transition to 2D gameplay. And there's a moment where she's like in first person from her visor. And I'm like, don't make us point at the screen again.
But it feels like they've really gone for just using the interesting camera angles for purely cinematic effects.
Yes,
which I think
totally.
Is the right way to do it. And then the second you're through that door, the camera pans back out and you're back into Metroidvania 2D exploration. And like I think if the game sets up specific cutscene moments where they just want to flip that camera back and do the kind of Metroid Prime style moments with the visor and stuff, then I love that. I think it looked so good from what they showed, and don't know if it's running on Switch Pro or not, but like it looked very crisp. And especially when the last 2D experience we had was at the end of the 3DS life cycle, this just feels like a massive step up in visuals, which I think is welcome to the 2D Metroid franchise, which we've not had yet. HD 2D Metroid is brand new.
Yes, totally. And that's the thing, right? I think I was somewhat underwhelmed by the look of Samus Returns, just because I think the 2.5D thing is not my favorite, right? Like Bloodstained has done it. A few games have done it, and I will always side with an Ori and a Hollow Knight that goes for distinctive.
I don't think this is looking a million miles away from sci-fi Ori, honestly.
Yeah, totally. That is the thing.
The lighting and stuff looked incredible.
That's what I was going to say, right? Is like I usually am not a big fan of that, but the slickness of the presentation here, the sheen that this 2.5D style has, and oh my god, the sound effects. Holy shit. Like, one of my favorite things about Fusion is its sound effects and its sound design, and they are nailing it. Every like movement of like the kind of through the air jump when she spins like has that certain sound to it. They're so iconic. The blaster, the kind of sound when she goes into the morph ball of like a thud. There's like metallic and heavy and like, oh, it just sounds so fucking good. I think everything about the presentation of this game is top tier, and as someone who was skeptical of it, I actually think that it works here, and it works really, really nicely with what they're going for. But yeah, it seems like there are a bunch of new abilities. I've watched the trailer a few times now, and obviously they showed off some gameplay in the treehouse. Seems like you can turn invisible. The main kind of thing going on here is almost an SAX situation, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, people
But
remember
the whole
Fusion.
game.
The whole game, yeah. So Fusion, obviously you're hunted by the SAX, which is the clone version of Samus, who is overtaken by the X and is super powerful and can murder you in one shot. And you're always running away from the SAX in certain moments, certain parts of the game. Whereas this seems like it has enemies that are just gonna chase you, and they're gonna continuously chase you. And I'm maybe a little skeptical about that, just in terms of, do they do that too much? How much do they crutch on it? How much does it get annoying that you're constantly running away from them? But I do have hope that they can design it in a way such that it creates those tense moments, but isn't relied on too much, you know?
One of the Treehouse crew, she described it chasing you as permadeath, and then Audrey Drake stepped in quite quickly to say, like, it's not, you know, it's not actually,
it's not a roguelike.
It's not permadeath. It's insta-death is how she described it. And it's that feeling of dread that they kept talking about. But that combined with like the slide and stuff, just
the slide. Oh, be still my beating heart.
So smooth and just really impressive. And it does. I think this game will be pretty scary. Honestly, I think just the constant fear of like running away from enemies, even in the 2D setting. The SAX was terrifying, like even for a Game Boy Advance game. So
it's so weird, right? Like, I hate horror, you hate horror, but Fusion is one of my favorite games, and in many ways it is a horror game, right? Like, you are just running away from these horrible things. There's the whole section in Sector 6 where it's frozen and those ice X are chasing after you, and I was so scared as a kid. Those fucking ice X, just, they go into you and they take your health away, and it's just like terrifying. I was like, I need to get to the save room, need to get to the next save room, because I was going to die. And this has that same feeling in a way. I am, as I said, maybe a little concerned that they could go overboard with it. But the nice thing is that they showed off in the treehouse, if you do die, they checkpoint it, right? Like, they are being much smarter about it and taking lessons from Samus Returns, where they did have checkpoints before bosses and before moments that could be fuck yous if you didn't like allow the player to mess up once before going again. Because traditionally, Metroid games have save rooms. You go to the save rooms, you save there, and that's the only place you save. But this feels like a modernization where they have decided, no, actually, in this case, we're doing the certain thing. If you're going to die in one hit to these guys by accidentally, like, messing up, then we'll just reboot you at a kind of checkpoint that we've made for you, which is good. I think that's modern game design. I think it's smart. I think it's much more accessible to more people, and overall just a smoother experience that it makes. And like even stuff like going into the map room and seeing the kind of expanding of the camera out as it zooms away and like shows this really large kind of sci-fi area, the tone and the rooms, it has this really clean aesthetic. They're also talking about how you start underground and you're making your way back to the surface. So I'm not sure where you are. Here's the thing. I missed the setup of this that Sakamoto was talking through because I was doing a bunch of editing stuff at the same time. Did you get a sense, Bally, from that of the setup of this game and what's going on?
I'm not sure if it confirmed the exact planet, but yeah, I did hear the bit where you start in the center of the planet and you're working your way to the surface. They skipped a few cutscenes during the gameplay that would give away story beats. So like,
interesting.
It seems like even early game they do a lot of setup that they don't want to really talk about.
They were also kind of talking about how it's going to be the end of the Metroid story in a way. Like I don't know what that means specifically, but is that wrapping up like the stuff that's from Super Metroid? You know, is that?
Or they're going to tie something in this game to Metroid Prime 4 or something? I don't know. Like I
don't know.
Yeah, I mean. If this game sells well, it's not going to be the end of Metroid, you know?
No, certainly not.
It might be a wrap up to that.
Which is why I'm telling our audience, fucking buy this game, please.
Buy this game.
Please. Please buy this game.
Buy it.
Even if you don't like it, just buy it so I can get more Metroid.
I've
copies. Suffered for 19 years. Have you heard me? Like the last 7 years of this podcast, every year I predict a new 2D Metroid. And it has finally come true. I have finally got my dream. Oh, I don't want to wait another 19 years, people. Please. I feel like now they have Mercury Steam and they seem to have a good working relationship. Hopefully this means a fruitful future for the 2D Metroid series.
Yeah. And it's really soon. I mean, because I was watching the British Direct, I briefly thought it was for August. But, you know, October is really soon. Like, I love that quick turnaround. Here's an announcement. Hey, it's out in like 2-3 months. That's awesome. So, yeah, like, just such a great showing. Like, everything you would want in 2D Metroid.
This is my game of E3. This is like by far my game of E3. Like not even a contest.
Yeah, I think I'd agree for sure.
Yeah. So yes, that happened. That was pretty cool. But it wasn't the end of the TNL dreams, as we will get to in due time. But first, Bally, Just Dance 2022.
Can't wait.
First time it's not coming to Wii, Bally. R.I.P. It's a It's a real shame. As I was mentioning to you, that game released last year for Wii still, and it didn't this year. So the Wii was trucking along. Finally doesn't have a Just Dance game, but it is coming to Switch. It's coming to Switch. Cruisin' Blast, they're bringing back Cruisin' USA, which is interesting. I kind of missed this because I was still stunned out of my mind about Metroid, that I wasn't really paying much attention to the sizzle reel that happened after it, but I kind of rewatched a bit of the Kind of Funny show, and yeah, this is a cruising game of the old Nintendo ilk. Looks like kind of crazy racing stuff, akin in a way to Excite Truck. Those kind of vibes I was getting. What do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of zany. I don't think it looked the best, but
no.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, I thought that had already come out on Switch. Apparently not. It's coming. Some people like that. It seems okay. Mario Golf Super Rush, we got a bit of an update. You can now play in New Donk City, which is fun.
That looks
like
cool.
That.
It looks like way more action focused, which I'm a little nervous about when I just want my vanilla golf. But the adventure mode is still looking strong. I'm up for the zaniness within the adventure mode for sure.
We got to play some speed golf, man. We got to do it, you know? I think that'll be fun. Another update on Monster Hunter Stories, a game that we've seen quite a bit of this last few days as well. Capcom showed it, and it's been popping up here and there. It looks really good. I do want to pick up a copy of Monster Hunter Stories 1 on 3DS at some point. It's part of my get all 3DS games before they go up in price horrendously project. So I'll probably get that at some point, and I'll probably play the sequel at some point as well. But yes, again, would like to attempt to get into the Monster Hunter series some way, somehow. And if this is the way to do it, then maybe that's the way to go. Bally, it's back, baby. WarioWare, we're here. It's been a long time, and first new game, I think, since DIY, maybe something like that, because they did WarioWare Gold on 3DS that collected all the best stuff from all the other WarioWare games. It was a great time. I enjoyed it. I got it cheap recently. Last year I played it, and it's a great time. WarioWare's always been a fantastic series and a lot of fun and weird and goofy. And I'm excited to play a Switch WarioWare. And it looks like it's co-op, which is interesting.
Yeah, I hope it's as fun co-op as it is single player. I don't know. It's probably going to have both modes, obviously, and it's probably not going to have online, which is a real shame.
Yeah.
But, I've had some wildly great times playing local WarioWare co-op multiplayer with the GameCube game back at university. So and that's obviously a multiplayer version of the Game Boy Advance original. So it works so well multiplayer. And I think these little mini games where you're kind of playing as in a 2D platform setting, playing as the individual characters and then interacting with the mini games in unique ways, which I think is interesting. So looks zany, looks fun. That's what I want in WarioWare, and it has been a while. There was also Game and Wario on Wii U, which we both didn't try, but was a bit different. So yeah, I think it's looking awesome, and the Switch needs WarioWare.
It's interesting. There was recently a survey thing that people picked up on where Nintendo were asking people how much they would pay for a WarioWare. Would you pay $50 for a WarioWare game? So I'm curious what they price this at. Similar to Metroid Dread, I'm really curious. We're getting these handheld style games on Switch.
Yeah.
Are they just going to put them full whack? Are they going to just charge full price for these games? I'm really interested to see that. Could be tough if they do for some people.
I think what are some other examples of games that have been slightly under the full price? I want to say stuff wasn't Mario Maker a bit under?
Mario Maker 1 definitely was. I remember that being cheaper,
okay.
But I can't remember for 2. Yeah, it's tricky. I don't know. Nintendo need to learn the value of their individual games, I think, and they feel like they can get away with it, like Miitopia, right? That should not be full price, and yet.
But they have full price games, but then there's a few that are a premium. You know what I mean? I think.
Yeah.
So I think Link's Awakening was £50, but then
Breath of the Wild is 60.
Breath of the Wild 60. I think Mario Kart might be 60.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Pricing in the UK is weird, just because our eShop is bad in terms of value versus just going to retailers, which is generally what we tend to do. So I don't know. I'm sure I will be able to get these games for cheaper because the UK retail market tends to value them in a way that makes a bit more sense than Nintendo does, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully we'll get to play that and enjoy it. And yeah, as you mentioned, a little weirder because you're kind of controlling little chibi versions of these characters on screen to do the mini games, as opposed to what so often was the case, which is like it gives you a random prompt and you like press A or like left and right or something that you have to think of in a couple of seconds. But having an actual character on screen doing stuff maybe adds a neat little wrinkle to it, and I wonder how that's going to change things, if it's going to make it less interesting, more interesting. And I feel like the best way to play this probably will be co-op, because Get It Together, that's the name of it, feels like the two Joy-Cons. It's made for two Joy-Cons, two people. So I hope we get to play that together at some point, if it doesn't have online, which it probably won't. Thanks, Nintendo. Even though you're putting it in Mario Party, doesn't mean same will happen.
Tell them to flick the button.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking go over to their department. You all live in the same building, right? Shin Megami Tensei 5. This is going to be exciting for a lot of people who are into SMT stuff. I, of course, am a massive Persona fan. Don't have a huge amount of interest in Shin Megami Tensei proper, just because this series is more about dungeons than it is about narrative. And the dungeon crawling is, frankly, my least favorite part of the Persona franchise. So, you know, that's kind of where my allegiances lie. I'm not super interested in checking this out, but it does look quite good. I think that they have a style to it, and that main character just suddenly grows a fucking mane of hair when he goes into this other realm. Pretty cool stuff, and a lot of it actually, the UI really reminded me of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, the crossover game, Fire Emblem Cross SMT, which makes sense obviously because it was basically an SMT game, really. Like the Fire Emblem stuff was pretty much just dressing on top. It was basically a turn-based RPG, so that logically tracks. And yeah, I'll see what reviews are like for this, but it's certainly one that I will keep an eye on. And if I am ever going to get into SMT, this is probably the one to do it because it's the most modern, probably going to be pretty good.
Another game this year.
Another game this year, for sure. So that is coming around November, I believe, which is cool. And then, Bally, something they should have done ages ago, and this is another thing that makes it a very NBZ-focused presentation. Dangan fucking Romper. I will beat this drum till the end of time. These are some of my favorite games ever. They are like the best visual novel / narrative games I've ever played. The ending of Danganronpa V3 still haunts my dreams. It is maybe my favorite ending of any piece of media in history. It is so mind-blowing and incredible and just so fucking... Yeah, Game of Thrones, thanks. Everyone loved that. It's like jaw-dropping. Like, it's... I love this series. It's so fucking good.
Were they all on PS3?
They were all on Vita originally. So the first game was Vita, second game was Vita, third one came to PS4, I believe, alongside Vita. And then they all came to PC. I believe they then all came to PlayStation and Collection. They all came to mobile, and I like these last few years, I'm like, fucking hell, just put them on Switch. And they decided to do it in the most TNL presentation of all time, which makes sense, right? Like, they would talk to my sensibilities. But yeah, I tell you, people, if you only own a Switch, if you haven't played Danganronpa and you love Phoenix Wright, if you're a Phoenix Wright fan and you haven't played Danganronpa, I'm so excited for you, frankly, because like this is going to become one of your new favorite series. If you love that series, you are going to adore Danganronpa, as long as you can put up with like a bit of anime. It's not too bad on that front.
I want to give it a go, and I think that's a good place to do it because, like you said, am I right in saying I can't get all of them on PlayStation 4? It's like not.
No, you can now. I think you can at this point. But frankly, like I played them all on Vita. They're better handheld games. Yeah. Like personally, that's where I fall. I don't want to be.
It looked a lot more Phoenix Wright than I'd realized.
That's the thing I'm telling you. Like these games are detective-y and like mystery focused, and then you do a courtroom thing where you figure out who the murderer is. That's what these games are, and they are fantastic. They're so good. The weird thing is,
Caroline liked the look of this one actually, so we might go hard copy and share.
I mean, as a story game, I think it's probably a fun thing to play together, honestly.
That's a good idea too,
yeah. So the thing is, it's physical exclusive if you want to get them all on one cartridge, basically. So it's the 3 games plus like a bonus expanded version of a mini game in one of the games that they count as a 4th one, which is weird. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, that was weird, yeah.
But you can buy them all individually on the eShop. So they'll all be available as individual downloads on the eShop. If you want to pick and choose, if you played one somewhere and you haven't played the other, you can, to your own whim, play Danganronpa. But yes, I encourage people to check that series out. Fatal Frame, Maiden of Blackwater. Nintendo just bringing back all the franchises today, all the niche stuff that people have been clamoring for. Fatal Frame seems terrifying, and I never want to play it in my life. Just not something we're into. Taking pictures of ghosts, no thank you. I believe this is the Wii U game, so I believe this is just a port of the Wii U Fatal Frame that came out. Obviously would have tanked. Fatal Frame is a niche enough franchise as it is, putting on a system that is sold to nobody. I imagine that did single digits, like below the 1,000 mark, or like in the regular thousands. Let's say 4-digit numbers in terms of sales in Japan, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So definitely great to get it on the system and a new lease of life for people. That's fun. Doom Eternal DLC is coming. Tony Hawk is coming to Switch. Really want to play those. Switch version look quite good. And Strange Brigade, which is a weird game that I'm not sure what's going on there. Feel like I've seen it before. Not sure what's going on.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know really what's
there's
happening.
A few smaller, really weird things in this direct.
Yeah, totally. Like there's the random stuff that's like Worms Rumble and Strange Brigade, and then you have like these niche Nintendo franchises coming back for the first time in years, and bit of tonal whiplash to some degree. But I guess they have to fill out the middle sections of these presentations somehow with some fun stuff sprinkled in between. Let's talk about Ubisoft and how everything leaks for Ubisoft.
By Nintendo.
By Nintendo. Nintendo leaked this fucking game. I can't believe it. So obviously the major presentation for Mario plus Rabbids Sparks, or Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Up, was done at Ubisoft's presentation with Davide Soliani and another guy from that Ubisoft Milan team, I believe it is, who are working on the Mario plus Rabbids series now, we can call it, because there's a second game. It looks fantastic. They've gone to space. They have merged these new creatures. The Sparks are from a merge of Rabbid and Luma, is what they said. From a merge of Rabbid plus Luma. And they look great. They seem like little partner characters that sit with your main characters. So like Mario had a fire one who was next to him, and at the end of the Ubisoft trailer, he seems to do like a big special attack that attacks the boss.
Don't forget Rabbid Rosalina.
Yeah, oh my god, Rabbid Rosalina is so good. She's amazing. She's just like the laziest rabbit in the world, like so fed up. She's like sitting there reading her book, which is a nice reference to the storybook in Galaxy. And then puts it away, takes her plush toy Luma with her, and joins the rest of the gang outside the ship. But really nice locations. Look like they can do a lot more diversity in terms of places you go, because you're going to different planets, you got a spaceship, that type of stuff. And it seems like they're making some changes to the combat in terms of the previous game had a grid system that wasn't super visible, but you basically went notches on a map, and you could like specifically go into individual squares that were like hiding behind a post and those types of things. It was a bit more open, but it still maintains somewhat of a grid-like function. This seems like just free open areas where it shows a grid area or like a circle space where you can run around freely, but within that you can kind of move your character as you want. So Mario can just like dash around wherever you want to go, run into somebody, go over here, find somewhere else to go, and makes it a bit more freeform, a bit more actiony. Seems like a nice evolution on the concept, and I'm really excited for it. I loved the first game. I think it was a shame it came out in 2017, because in any other year it would have made my top 10 games, like it was just such a strong year for video games overall in 2017 that it just missed out. But that is no discredit on the game itself, because it is fantastic, and I had a great time with it. I think it's a really streamlined kind of strategy experience that is friendly for newcomers, but at the end does have a nice bit of challenge to it. And they did talk about how they wanted to make it a bit more balanced this time, so that it is good for easy players, but also if you want to ramp it up, you can do. So that sounds great to me. I recommend, Bally, that you pick this up ASAP, because of the first game ASAP. It's currently on sale. I think Nintendo has a sale right now during E3, so I think it's on sale right now, so worth picking that up. I am going to play the DLC that I bought ages ago, the Donkey Kong DLC. I'm going to play that before this comes out, but this is 2022, so we don't know when in 2022 it's coming. I'd imagine maybe second part of the year. Feels like this could have come out this year, but COVID probably had the effect where it was knocked out, unfortunately. But yeah, Are you interested in this Bally? Obviously, you haven't played the first one, but
yeah, I want to play the first one and then be like, I think I will enjoy that game, and then from that, I think I'll be pretty hyped to give this game a go before it comes out in 2022.
Yeah. And then we get into the last segment of the show. Well, actually, no, we don't, because we can't skip
How
over.
could you forget this one?
we can't skip over Bally's most important get hype moment at E3.
My God, I was shocked. Like when I saw like the Orange Star Army. I'm like, the Orange Star Army.
Did your heart stop in your chest?
Yeah,
Were you disbelieving
just
the
like,
words.
Oh my God! And so of course I would have loved a new game, but
yes,
like I'm well up for playing these first two games again.
You've played them both in the span of the podcast life cycle, right?
I have.
You played them both on a Wii U Virtual Console.
Totally. And obviously I played a lot of the first one when I was much younger and loved it. And that's what made me want to play those two, like, with the show. But I really want to play them again. And I think they look fantastic. I love the glow up that they've had. I think it works for that sort of pixelated art style that they did have, for them to be these strange looking chibis, but then they've also got a separate style for the cutscenes with the characters.
They are very toy-like.
Very toy-like. I think it looks really good. And like you were trying to find out if this was being made by Grezzo, because it does look very, Link's Awakening toy-like, which is interesting. And my prediction was, we'll probably get like a chibi remake of, Super Metroid. And that was kind of the safe bet. Never in my wildest dreams would I be like, oh yeah, we're going to get Chibi Advance Wars, for God's sake. Like that is like way off the deep end of what I thought was going to happen. So your prediction
splintered into two different things, a Metroid game and a chibi game.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what we had.
But I think it's great. I want everyone to buy this, and hopefully they make a new one. But regardless, I think people who haven't experienced this series, which will be a lot of people because it's been a while, should definitely pick up this game with the first two games, because I think it's going to be fantastic. I really look forward to it. It's just I find it such a relaxing game to suss.
Yeah.
Like it's a real relaxing strategy game for me, and I really look forward. The fact that it's also coming out this year, like it's just another one that is so soon, and that's awesome. I'm very happy, and Nintendo have acknowledged again that Advance Wars exists. And
it exists.
That's awesome. So yeah.
I was so stoked for you. I was like, this is like the E3 where I get my favorite thing, you get your favorite thing. It's like, oh, what a wonderful time for Nintendo to just...
Like, I would have put more money on F-Zero coming back than this, honestly. The state
same.
Of
so would I.
Wars, like, it's... Because it's Intelligent Systems. I mean, maybe this remake isn't them, obviously, but, like, it's... that's a very busy company making Fire Emblem and making WarioWare and Paper Mario, like this.
Yeah.
This isn't what... is making the big bucks for them at the moment. So the fact that we are getting an Advance Wars game is truly unbelievable, and hopefully it sells well.
And it's not just, like, the thing is that it's both first games. It's two campaigns in one. So like that's a lot of stuff, a lot of missions in there.
It's a lot. I mean, either of those games is very long because it's not just a campaign. There's like a map creation mode, like an arcade mode. Every character has like their own levels and all like this, and maybe they saw Wargroove doing well and thought, hey, we should get back in that market or something. I don't know, but it's like,
is that what's happening now? They saw Golf Story and they're like, oh shoot, we better put an RPG mode back in. Exactly. And they saw fucking Ori and Hollow Knight and like, gosh, we're better make a new 2D Metroid. It's about time,
exactly.
Isn't it?
So the industry is forcing Nintendo's hand, I like to hope. But
that's what we've talked about all the time, is like, oh, Nintendo, do they really care? Because these indie games are doing it instead.
Yeah, were these games always going to come at these times, or are they actually responding to trends in the industry? Like,
I don't know.
Hard to tell.
It's really interesting. They call it Reboot Camp, which is a great name.
Great name. Fantastic.
But like, it implies reboot, right? It's time to bring it back. Let's reboot this franchise, inject it with a bit of life. It's similar to Monkey Ball, right? It feels like both of these are hitting the same thing, which is people loved these series. It's been a long, long time since good versions, or
because it's been so long, they can play the safe step of doing the glow up, doing the remake.
Yes.
And then if it does does well, they think, you know what, let's put a bit more effort in and make a ground up new game. And,
totally. There is the thrill, the potential thrill of like what they did with Crash Bandicoot, where they made the trilogy and then they made a fourth game, right? Like, if these do well, if people like them, and and I know it's really stupid. I don't like the practice of people being like, well, you got to buy this in order to get a new one, but sadly, that's kind of the way things work.
Yeah. If it can reach, what should we say, 2 million, like that might be enough to make Nintendo be like, you know what, like that's a good number. We should make one of these. And you like to think it's a kind of low labor intensive kind of game in comparison to some of the other stuff we've seen, hopefully, but I don't know.
Yeah. How do you feel about the character designs? They look pretty faithful to those from the old game, just glowed up.
Yeah, it's just a really nice reinvention, honestly. At first it was a little jarring, but the more I've watched it, it's grown on me a ton. And the fact that there isn't there's a separate style for the little sort of cutscenes with the leaders.
COs.
The COs. So it's cool. I think it does look really crisp, and I think on a Switch screen it'll just look even better. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah. One of the things that's interesting I find is like, because the aesthetic of the Game Boy only allowed for so much visual variety, the tiles maybe look a little, I don't know, old in a sense. Like the map design and stuff like that maybe stands out a little more because it worked really well in the pixel art style and maybe is a little harder to get behind here. But I think that they can definitely jazz it up, and there are certainly other levels later on that look different and have different kind of palettes to them. There's a bunch of Fog of War stuff that I'm sure they can do some really nice chibi looking fog that covers the spaces and all that type of stuff. I'm questioning whether I'll pick it up, because I did enjoy playing the first Advance Wars game. I did find it quite challenging, and it definitely pushed me to my limit, and I kind of bounced off Wargroove. I think Wargroove is an incredible game that like is not for me at all. Like it's so well made, it's beautiful. It's just I think something about the Advance Wars formula I find really tricky to get my head around as a Fire Emblem person, and the same is true for you of the opposite, right? Like it's
I really struggle with Fire Emblem.
I would love to love it, but it's hard. So that's why I kind of hope that when they put this out, they maybe rebalance the difficulty a little bit, or at least even allow for easier difficulties for people, which like Fire Emblem has done.
Yeah. And Wargroove did that after launch as well, so I'm sure they will have, whether they're listening to Wargroove or not, I don't know what we discussed, but I'm convinced they'll have some easier options, especially for the second game. The second game's campaign, I think, is considerably rougher than the first game, especially the last few levels.
In terms of difficulty and spikes and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Real spikes in there. And just some really long maps, but I love it.
Wow.
I'm pumped, stoked, incredible. Can't believe it.
Good stuff. What is dead may never die. They're all back, baby. And then we get to the last segment of the show.
Have I ever been trolled as badly as this?
Oh boy, it's like the slow tension build of like, okay, here's Anuma. What's he gonna say? Let's talk about the Age of Calamity DLC. Okay, all right, cool. Spend a minute on that. How's our watch looking?
But they showed the characters first, and every time I see those characters, I forget that Age of Calamity exists. So I'm like, here we go, Breath of the Wild 2. And then they say, Age of Calamity. I'm like, okay, great, fine.
Yeah, okay, expansion pass going for that. And I'm like, all right, okay, we're just done with that. We've got a good 6 minutes for Breath of the Wild 2, all right? And Skyward Sword, Skyward Sword HD. I've got to talk about that for a minute. Cool, it looks the same as we've seen before. Great, another minute going by. Okay, that's done. Here we go, baby. Breath of the Wild sequel. No, there's a Game & Watch that he pulls out of his pocket.
But when Anuma was introduced, he said he's got one more thing, and there's one more thing with 4 Zelda things. It's like, don't do that, What
are you doing, man? Just sort your life out.
That's just not cricket.
It's just not. The Game & Watch is cool, at least. I think it's much more worthwhile than the Mario one, because it has Zelda 1, Zelda 2, and Link's Awakening on it, which is really cool.
I always feel a bit icky when I can just feel like Nintendo are really just absolutely going for the Nintendo hardcore who just lap up all these things. I'm like,
the people who just buy all the merch and everything.
Yeah, it's like, we're not really big on the merch end of Nintendo stuff. No. But that is a huge audience out there, and I just feel a little grimy when they get suckered into all these things that Nintendo just throw out willy-nilly,
They love it, man. They love these like weird little special edition things that you can only buy if you fucking have bots and like go on the website at the first moment and refresh like a madman. They love their scarves, man. They love going to New York and getting their scarves. So yeah, that thing was cool. You can play the clock now apparently, so the clock is playable. Wahoo! And then finally he says the golden words, the sequel to the Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Let's take a look. And they showed a trailer, and it looks good. It looks good, man. I don't think this is like the spine tingling kind of like, oh, I'm so over the moon for this trailer, but this gives a much better sense of where we're going with this game and what is going on with this game, which is really cool. And that's kind of all I really wanted to know at this point. Like, we probably are going to have to wait a while for this one, you know?
Yeah,
they said they're aiming for 2022, which is that sounds like 2023 to me, you know? Like, that doesn't sound like they're going to necessarily get there.
I would not, Fantasy Critic next year, I'm not picking this up for 22. Like, I mean,
I might. I don't know.
You might
go.
There's
always a chance.
I think the timescale thing is maybe a bit of a shame, but it's fantastic. We are seeing it, and we are seeing kind of like a gameplay focused trailer, even if there's a lot of story stuff in there as well. It's quite a short trailer, like 2 minutes. It was kind of overwhelming, the amount of stuff they were kind of packing in. There was quite a lot of new mechanics, and then they were making clear that like a lot of this game is taking place in the sky. And then you see like Link falling, you see Zelda falling away. There's clearly like zero intention that she's playable.
That's a metaphor for our hopes for playing as Zelda. It's just like, well, I guess she's just going to lie in the ground for the whole game until Link goes and saves her again, for fuck's sake, Nintendo.
Or maybe that's the fake they're doing as Zelda.
It could be the fake out, right? Like, here's what I imagine, right? Next year, they show off a trailer that is Link in the sky, Zelda underground, you know, like 2 characters, 2 different scenarios, right? Like, that would be sick, but not holding my hopes out for it, unfortunately. It just doesn't seem like a realistic thing that's going to happen.
And there's some weird stuff with like mechanically. So Link's got this arm that something's happened to his arm. It's like being corrupted in some way, and it can like change into things and stuff comes out of it and weird.
It feels like this is what happens when you don't need to have something that looks like a Wii U gamepad anymore, right? Because this is only coming out on Switch, so you could have something that is, this is how I control all of the powers, right? Like the magnesis and cryonis and all of that stuff. And there's a couple of different things. There's like there's time stop that then like rebounds back through, like ghost images of a ball that then get rebound back, and
like a real knock-on snooker ball kind of effect with the balls, which was cool.
Totally. And then there's like sky stuff where I imagine because we're in the sky and because we have to get back up to the sky, it feels like this time reverse mechanic or whatever it is, this like anti-gravity stuff where you can also like apparently phase through the floor.
You can go kid to squid again.
Turn into an inkling. It feels like that's how you get back up to the sky, I'm guessing. Like if you're on the ground and you want to get back up, you just like fucking invert gravity and Link starts falling upwards. Because they showed like a drop of water and going backwards.
It's just mechanically so wild and it's a lot to take in. I'm still really intrigued what they do with the world and the story, why we're in the sky, what happened to Zelda. How does this trailer link to what we saw in the first revealed trailer 2 years ago? You know, it's like, I'm sure there'll be analysis stuff done on this and we can have a look and see what it's all about. But
people are going to pick this thing to pieces, man. There's going to be so much deep diving, and I look forward to checking that stuff out because, you know, when it comes to Zelda, it's maybe my favorite series to speculate on, and especially Breath of the Wild stuff. It's so much fun.
It's fantastic.
To see what's going on.
It's looking good. I'm a little disappointing at the timing, and I want to know more, but what we did see looks very good. It's just quite overwhelming and trying to understand how it all comes together. One little thing I'm a little worried about is the one thing about the focus in the sky is I hope that it can reinvent that sense of discovery. I think there's something very impressive about the first game of running around a mountain to see a reveal, whether it's another mountain or a house or a town or a dragon. You know, I want it to be able to, are you going to have the same feeling as flying through a cloud and discovering an area? You know, like I want that sense, and I'm a little skeptical that the sky can reinvent that. And assuming you can go between sky and land, we're assuming the land will be the same as the first game or very similar. So
yes, totally.
I hope that there's still, I think the mechanics look great, but I'm still skeptical that we're going to get that same sense of discovery, which was, in my opinion, the best bit about the first game, but we'll see.
Yeah, so interestingly, one of the shots where Link is coming down on the ground and there's the big boulder guy who now has a platform on top of him where bokoblins are standing on top of those, which is a really cool twist. When you look at the sky in that shot, there are no things up there. And yet the rest of the trailer is filled with like stuff in the sky. So I'm wondering, like, when does that happen? Does that not happen straight away in the game? Maybe it happens partway through the game that this event takes place and that type of thing is going on, or maybe it's happening in a different time period. I'm not sure. It's obviously so much to speculate on and so much potential for what it means. But the one question was answered: is the castle going up or down? It is going up. In fact, is the answer, because we see it floating there at the end, and it kind of hangs on that shot for a really long time. Kind of echoing, I guess, the last trailer where it hung on that shot for quite a long time. And yeah, it's intriguing to say the least. Like there's that one shot where Link is running on that sky area with the sun and like his hair flowing. Fucking gorgeous. Like it just reminds me the scope and the beauty of that game and just like the wonder of exploring and finding new spaces. And I felt like, I know you're worried about the sky stuff, but I felt like from what I could see, expanding this open to like what the entire world, but there's another section of it above the clouds, that to me is exciting in the way that there's new spaces to explore at least. And that was my biggest worry, I think, was if it's just the same world and we don't get any expansion on that world, it's not going to have the same hit as that first game did. And I think adding more spaces to discover gives the potential for it to be magical again. You know?
You're definitely going to have something. We didn't see any Epona. Like, is there going to be some sky beast, whether it's a Loftwing or something else, or Link just has the ability to fly?
Well, yeah, as I was saying, I wonder if you just invert yourself to the sky and that's how you get up there. You just fly upwards. Like, I wonder...
What kind of VVVVV style you just invert?
Yeah, I wonder how much Nintendo took inspiration from the hackers and the kind of, glitch people who were able to, like, do those crazy things and make Link fly through the sky using
there's lots of space in the sky to do stuff. Let's do that.
Right, like, that's kind of my thoughts. And what would be even cooler, right, is put Loftwings in the game and fly around the world with Loftwings, right? Like, I love Loftwings in Skyward Sword, but it is a small area you use them and it's contained. The idea of exploring the entire space of that world on a Loftwing, that's chills, man. That's so cool.
You can just land it and get back on it and, fly all the way down to the surface and
call it from wherever you are as it flies to... Oh my goodness, like that would be so cool. So that's kind of my dream.
And like on reflection, what's really cool about this trailer is it suggests a lot of things but doesn't really answer a lot of things, so it just leaves a lot of mystery but still gets you excited, which I think is what they're obviously going for so far out. So it's really cool in that sense, and I think it's still my most anticipated game right now out of everything we know about by a mile, but that's not saying a ton. But I just 2023, looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Take your time, man. They only made the greatest game ever made, like they got to follow it up somehow. So
I mean, if they're going to keep up this cadence of other stuff before then, like you've got a ton to play on Switch between now and
100%.
Breath of the Wild 2 comes out. Like there's
right. They didn't show Diamond and Pearl Remake, which is also coming out this year. They didn't talk about Splatoon 3, which is pegged for next year. Yeah. There's still Bayonetta 3 in the pipeline potentially.
We don't know what the Odyssey team is working on. That was the big rumor, right?
We don't know yet what they're doing. There's still the rumors of the Donkey Kong thing, which we didn't see any of that today, but maybe that's still true. We have No More Heroes 3 as a kind of Switch associated game. We got loads of other stuff, man. It's just like bursting at the seams of potentiality here. Like, is Mario Kart 9 going to be a thing, right? We're still asking these questions, and I think that's the thing for some people, right? Some people will come out of this direct and be like, well, we didn't get answers on Metro Prime 4, and we didn't get answers on Bayonetta 3, and where was this game, and where was that game, and we didn't see the new Mario Odyssey, and all these things.
Where was the Switch Pro?
Where was the Switch Pro? Because they clearly didn't listen to Nintendo, and they don't have any idea of Nintendo, what they do at E3. But for me, like, it's great that none of those things are here, because if this got me this excited and we still have all that stuff, it's a great time, man, to own a Switch and be a Nintendo fan. Frankly,
Yeah,
it's really good stuff.
This is great. A plus, top marks from TNL.
4 months, Bally.
Want
4
more of it,
months. In 4 months, we get a brand new 2D Metroid. Can you fucking believe that shit? Can you fucking believe that shit? I'm beside myself.
And it looked so good. At first, I was like, this is just a glowed up, Samus Returns. But then the more you watch it, it's like, no, this is much more. They've expanded on the mechanics, stuff like the dash, the melee move, the slide. But then that cinematic style they've really added, and like this really new synthetic scientific sci-fi kind of setting with these robotic enemies. Like it
has that clinical kind of lab aesthetic to it,
and that's a really good way of showing off the visuals if it is Switch Pro related or anything like that. It's a really crisp style that I think just looked great. And there's like the really 2.5D areas where you see a real background behind Samus that when you're in the more outdoor areas, I thought looked incredible. That's when I thought, wow, there's like Ori levels of style going on at points here, which I just think this is like, AAA 2D Metroid experience, which are very rare. Like that's why we like Ori so much. Like this is really cool that that's happening. So
yeah, and as much as I love Ori and that has like the best game feel of all time, there is something so special and unique about the way Samus moves in those 2D games that for me is just some of my favorite stuff, right? Like I can't wait to get the screw attack again in this game and fuck up those robot guys that chase you at the beginning, because that's going to happen.
Yes, yeah, they're totally building to it. You're going to run away from them the whole game, and then you're going to absolutely destroy them in the latter part.
And it gives me hope, because there are like new mechanics in here, like the kind of metallic wall climb thing that is reminiscent of the spider ball, but it's using your full form to like climb up the side.
Not a lot of morph ball. Very interesting. Like,
obviously we have the slide early on, which helps you get down through small spaces, but the invisibility thing as well, which is like, here's the thing with Metroid, like it's always great, but they tend to just have the same power-ups every time, the same charge beam, which again, they showed the charge beam again, so that's definitely returning. I definitely want to see more new abilities, and it's good to see that there are some hinted at already with the invisibility and that type of thing. Like something that, riffs on the nature of this game of avoiding enemies, right? The invisibility makes a lot of sense there. Kind of lends to the stealthy stuff that you maybe saw in the End of Zero mission, but wasn't quite delivered on in kind of the mechanical sense. That to me sounds great. Anyway, I could talk about this fucking Metroid Dread game all day, but we've got to shut up here, Bal. We've got to get out of here. Overall, final thoughts. How are you feeling after E3?
Positive. Now. We have great games coming in the short term. We have great games coming in the medium term. We have great games coming in the long term. I'm going to be playing my Switch with at least one brand new game roughly once every 2 months, once every month between now and spring, summer next year.
I mean, we've got Mario Golf. I'm probably going to pick up Skyward Sword again because I'm an idiot and I love that game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got Mario Golf, Advance Wars, Metroid, Monkey Ball, might do Mario Party, definitely doing WarioWare. Like that's all this year. Like that is, I can't remember the last time I said that about Nintendo. Like that is impeccable.
Yeah, totally. It's great stuff. I'm super excited.
They've just won E3. We often have our bias poll that we put down. We say, right, Nintendo definitely won E3, but like I feel it more strongly this year than most years.
Yeah, it depends, right? Like, there's certainly years where E3 has been really bad and Nintendo has really been the only ones there who've done anything worthwhile, and then sometimes we get super disappointed because they put stuff out that is just a little subpar. But this, for me personally, is, they not even a competition. Like, I don't think any of the other... Microsoft and Bethesda was good, but I didn't think it was amazing. This was just, for me, up there. It's one of my favorite presentations. And again, that's going to come into personal biases, but that's what always happens with these shows. Like, there are shows where loads of stuff gets announced that is for certain people and not for us. And this was just one of those where it hit home really, really hard. And we both
even with that personal bias, the most quality games coming out this year, judging by sales, critical scores, is going to be Nintendo this year. Like they've just got it all wrapped up.
For sure. So excited, looking forward to it. I'm going to watch all the Treehouse stuff, catch up on it. Hopefully they show some of that Advance Wars and all that stuff going on. Will be good to check out. That's going to do us for this episode, this impromptu, or actually promptu, because we did announce it, E3 reaction special. We will be doing a Patreon special for the other E3 presentations, which probably won't be as effusive or excited, but still worth talking about those other people.
Cover, totally.
What they did, probably mainly Microsoft and Bethesda was the stuff that I was most interested in. That will come out this week at some point. We haven't got a day nailed down for it, but we will be recording that, and that will come out later this week on Patreon. So if you're a patron, look forward to that. And then we'll have another regular show next week, where we'll probably talk a bit more about debriefing E3, talking about what they talked about in Treehouse for certain things.
Gotta go over our wonderful predictions, obviously.
Yeah, go over our predictions, see how we did, that type of stuff. So yes, look forward to that. But we'll get on out of here for now. Thanks everybody for listening. We hope you had a good E3, and hopefully at least something, a Nintendo's presentation was something you were into. And we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye, folks.